Yes, sir.
Governor Jim, earlier today, Judge Mike Caldwell again threw out Act 1 saying it was unconstitutional in spite of what the Supreme Court said. At what point, and Jimmy Fairfax said that y'all would appeal it. At what point are y'all going to say all this?
I'm sorry, at what point?
At what point are you going to stop and try out, I guess?
Oh, look, we'll continue to push to improve education for our kids and for Louisiana. The good news is the law continues to remain in effect. You're exactly right. This judge issued the same ruling before. The Supreme Court told him to reconsider. He issued the same ruling again, so obviously we're going to appeal, go back to the Supreme Court. The good news is the law continues to remain in effect. The good news is that this law is designed to put a good teacher in every classroom. It's designed to improve the quality of education being received by our students. Study after study shows that the best thing we can do to help improve education for our kids is to make sure there's a good teacher in the classroom. And that's why it's so important that when we're looking at the powers and the authorities of the superintendents, when we're looking at how we hire and fire and promote and reward teachers, it should be based on student achievement. And that's what this law is designed to do. Look, we're now sitting in a time we've got record high graduation rates at our high schools across Louisiana. We've got lower dropout rates. We've got more kids taking the ACT. We've got more kids taking the AP exam. We actually had record growth this past year in the number of kids taking the AP exam. So the good news is we're making great progress. Absolutely, we're going to go back to the Supreme Court. They told the judge to reconsider. We got the same ruling. Good news, though, in the interim, the law continues to be in effect. It has been in effect ever since the legislature has passed it. My message, my advice to the Coalition for the Status Quo is it's time for them to stop fighting us in court. It's time for them to stop the lawsuits and go to work with us to help improve education for our kids.
But they say they want to sit down with you and come up with some quote-unquote meaningful legislation.
Look, we've said from the very first day, we're always happy to meet with anybody that's interested in working together to improve education for Louisiana. We're not going to back down from our efforts to tie not only job protections, but compensation and other reforms to student achievement. Anybody that's interested in student achievement, we're more than happy to meet with them, more than happy to work with them. We talk to them extensively as we develop this legislation, and we'll be more than happy to continue to work not only with those folks that have fought us in court, but others as well. We'll continue to do that, but it's important that it be based on student achievement. This has to be about helping our students do well, but the good news is the law continues to remain in effect. The law has been in effect ever since it was passed in the legislature, and nothing has changed regarding the implementation of the law.
The judge's concerns on Act 1 were procedural rather than substantive about the nature of the reforms. Is it possible that in the legislative session that you could go back and do them as perhaps separate bills and thus obviate the need for them?
Well, I think the Supreme Court was pretty specific in telling him to reconsider his procedural concerns. We think that the law, as it was written, as passed, was constitutional, it was legal. I think the dual objects was not a legitimate concern. I think these were related objects. And the Supreme Court specifically told him to reconsider that. And so on this very point, the Supreme Court read his original ruling, told him to reconsider it. He issued the exact same ruling. So we're pretty optimistic we'll go back to the Supreme Court. But look, Laney, I'm not going to close any door. I think it's too important. I made it very clear our top priority as we started that first session of my second term, our top priority was to make sure that we got meaningful and important education reforms to improve the quality of education for every student in Louisiana. So I'm not going to stand here and close any door on how to get that done. But we're confident we'll be successful in the Supreme Court. Again, they were pretty specific in telling the judge to reconsider his ruling on those same procedural concerns. He didn't raise new concerns. These are the same procedural concerns they told him to reconsider. I'm no lawyer, but if the Supreme Court tells you to reconsider, I think they're sending you a pretty strong message that, you know, if they had agreed with the original ruling, I don't think they would have sent it back to him. And so, since we got the exact same ruling, you know, obviously I'm no attorney, but we're confident we'll win again. If we won last time, we viewed the last ruling from the Supreme Court as a win. We're confident we'll win again when it gets back to the Supreme Court. But the important thing is, look, I know that there have been a lot of lawsuits about all these different reforms. Every one of those reforms is still in place. The scholarship program is still in place. The tenure reforms are still in place. The compensation reforms are still in place. Course choice is still in place. The charter school reforms are still in place. Linking teacher promotion, hiring, firing, compensation to student achievement, all of that is still in place. So our opponents have spent a lot of time in court, and yet every single one of those reforms is still in place. I think, going back to the earlier question, I think the time is now for them to stop fighting in court, work with us to improve student outcomes. And that's really what this should be all about. Teacher and education reform really should be about students getting a better education. It's not about the adults in the classroom, it's about the kids. Now's the time for them, I think, to stop fighting in court. Let's go to work, let's improve student outcomes. And again, the trends are good. Graduation rates are up, more kids taking the ACT, the AP exam, but we've got a lot more work to do. Nobody can be satisfied with where we are today.